The Whispers of Giants, introducing the enduring legacy of philosophical thought. From the bustling marketplaces of Athens to the royal courts of Europe, the voices of philosophers have echoed through time, shaping civilizations and challenging the very foundations of power. These thinkers, driven by an insatiable curiosity, dared to question the world around them. They sought answers about the nature of justice, the ideal society, and the responsibilities of both the ruler and the ruled. Their ideas, often controversial and always thought-provoking, became the building blocks of political systems, ethical frameworks, and the very notion of citizenship. Today, as we grapple with complex global challenges, the wisdom of these philosophical giants remains strikingly relevant. Their insights into human nature, the dynamics of power, and the pursuit of a just society provide a timeless compass for navigating the complexities of the 21st century. By revisiting their ideas, we embark on a journey of intellectual exploration. This exploration allows us to critically examine our own assumptions and to engage in a dialogue that transcends time and geography. The legacy of these thinkers is not confined to dusty scrolls or academic debates. It lives on in the very fabric of our societies, the principles of democracy, the rule of law, the pursuit of individual rights. These cornerstones of modern governance are all deeply rooted in philosophical inquiry. By understanding the historical evolution of these ideas, we gain a deeper appreciation for the fragility of our institutions and the constant need to safeguard the values they represent. This exploration of philosophical thought is not merely an academic exercise, it is an invitation to engage with the fundamental questions that have captivated humankind for millennia. By understanding the ideas that have shaped our world, we empower ourselves to become more informed citizens, more critical thinkers, and more active participants in shaping a future worthy of the philosophical giants who came before us. From ancient Greece to the global stage, tracing the evolution of political ideas. Our journey begins in the cradle of Western civilization, ancient Greece. Here, amidst the vibrant intellectual atmosphere of the polis, philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the groundwork for Western political thought. Socrates, through his relentless questioning, challenged conventional wisdom and emphasized the importance of reason and critical thinking. Plato, in his Republic, envisioned an ideal society ruled by philosopher kings emphasizing justice and harmony. As the Roman Empire rose to prominence, thinkers like Cicero and Seneca grappled with the challenges of governance on a grand scale. They explored the concepts of natural law, civic duty, and the responsibilities of leadership within a vast and diverse empire. Their ideas would influence legal systems and political structures for centuries to come. With the rise of Christianity, figures like Augustine of Hippo sought to reconcile faith and reason. Augustine's City of God explored the relationship between earthly and heavenly authority, leaving an indelible mark on Western conceptions of political legitimacy and the role of religion in society. From the bustling intellectual centers of Baghdad to the scholarly courts of medieval Europe, philosophical inquiry continued to flourish. Islamic scholars like Al-Farabi and Averroes made significant contributions to political philosophy, exploring themes of justice, good governance, and the relationship between reason and revelation. In medieval Europe, thinkers like Thomas Aquinas sought to synthesize Aristotelian philosophy with Christian theology, shaping Catholic thought and influencing political structures. A timeless dialogue, engaging with philosophical wisdom to illuminate modern challenges. As we transition to the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, we encounter a period of profound intellectual ferment. Thinkers like Niccolò Machiavelli, with his pragmatic approach to power, and Thomas Hobbes, with his social contract theory, challenged traditional assumptions about governance and the nature of political authority. John Locke's ideas about natural rights and limited government would prove foundational to the American Revolution and the rise of liberal democracy. The 19th and 20th centuries witnessed a surge of new ideologies and political movements. Karl Marx's critique of capitalism and his vision of a classless society sparked revolutionary movements around the world. John Stuart Mill championed individual liberty and argued for a more inclusive and just society, laying the groundwork for modern liberalism. As we navigate the complexities of the 21st century, the insights of these philosophical giants remain as relevant as ever. We confront challenges that transcend borders: climate change, global inequality, technological disruption, and the erosion of democratic norms. These complex issues demand thoughtful solutions informed by a deep understanding of history, human nature, and the delicate balance between individual rights and the common good. By engaging with the ideas of these philosophers, we equip ourselves with the intellectual tools necessary to navigate the challenges of our time. Their insights into the nature of power, the importance of justice, and the pursuit of a more equitable society provide a timeless framework for critical thinking and informed action. The journey of philosophical exploration is an ongoing dialogue, one that connects us to the great minds of the past and empowers us to shape a more just and enlightened future. Dawn of Democracy, Herodotus and the Power of Storytelling. Our journey begins in the sun-drenched lands of ancient Greece, where the foundations of Western civilization were laid. Here, amidst the bustling city-states and vibrant marketplaces, a new form of governance was emerging: democracy. It was a time of great intellectual and cultural ferment, where philosophers and historians grappled with the fundamental questions of human existence, the nature of power, and the ideal society. Among these pioneering thinkers was Herodotus, often hailed as the father of history. Born in the bustling city of Halicarnassus, Herodotus lived in a time of great change and upheaval. The Persian Empire, a vast and powerful force, was expanding its reach across the known world, threatening the independence of the Greek city-states. It was against this backdrop of conflict and uncertainty that Herodotus embarked on his life's work to record and understand the events of his time. Unlike previous chroniclers who relied on mythology and legend, Herodotus sought to ground his accounts in observation and inquiry. He traveled extensively throughout the Persian Empire, interviewing witnesses, collecting accounts, and meticulously documenting the customs, beliefs, and conflicts of the diverse peoples he encountered. His magnum opus, the Histories, is a sprawling account of the Greco-Persian Wars, but it is much more than a mere chronicle of battles and conquests. Herodotus believed that history was not merely a collection of facts and dates, but a tapestry woven from human choices, actions, and consequences. He recognized the power of storytelling to illuminate the human condition, to explore the motivations behind great events, and to offer valuable lessons for the present and the future. Through his vivid prose and engaging narratives, Herodotus brought to life the clash of civilizations, the complexities of war, and the enduring themes of courage, hubris, and the fickle hand of fate. His work is a testament to the power of human curiosity, the importance of understanding the past, and the enduring relevance of history in illuminating the challenges of our own time. From the bustling streets of Athens, we turn to the serene groves of the Academy, where Plato, one of the most influential philosophers in Western thought, contemplated the nature of justice, the ideal society, and the role of the philosopher king. A student of Socrates, Plato was deeply affected by his mentor's trial and execution, an event that instilled in him a profound skepticism of Athenian democracy and its susceptibility to demagoguery and mob rule. In his seminal work, The Republic, Plato lays out his vision for a just and harmonious society, one ruled not by the whims of the masses, but by reason and wisdom. At the heart of Plato's ideal state lies the concept of the philosopher king, a ruler who possesses not only political acumen, but also a deep understanding of philosophy, ethics, and the nature of truth. Plato believed that just as the human soul is divided into three parts, reason, spirit, and appetite, so too should society be structured into three classes: philosopher kings, guardians, and producers. The philosopher kings, guided by reason and wisdom, would govern with justice and foresight. The guardians, possessing courage and discipline, would defend the state. The producers, driven by their appetites, would provide for the material needs of society. Central to Plato's vision is the concept of justice, which he defines as each part of society fulfilling its proper role and not encroaching on the domains of others. In Plato's ideal state, there is no room for greed, ambition, or the pursuit of power for its own sake. Instead, harmony and justice prevail because each individual understands and embraces their place within the larger social order. Plato's Republic, though often criticized for its utopian ideals and its hierarchical structure, remains a cornerstone of Western political thought. His emphasis on justice, wisdom, and the importance of virtuous leadership continues to resonate with political philosophers and leaders alike, offering a timeless framework for contemplating the nature of the ideal society. While Plato sought to construct an ideal society through philosophical inquiry, his contemporary Xenophon brought a soldier's pragmatism and first-hand experience to bear on the questions of leadership and governance. A student of Socrates, like Plato, Xenophon lived a life of adventure and military exploits, serving as a mercenary general and witnessing firsthand the complexities of power, the challenges of command, and the vagaries of fate. Xenophon's most famous work, the Anabasis, recounts his harrowing experience leading a band of Greek mercenaries stranded deep within the Persian Empire. Through vivid prose and gripping storytelling, Xenophon chronicles their arduous journey home, a testament to his leadership, strategic brilliance, and unwavering determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Beyond his military achievements, Xenophon was a prolific writer, penning works on a wide range of subjects, including horsemanship, hunting, and economics. His writings reflect a keen observer of human nature, with a particular focus on the qualities that make for effective leadership. In his treatise, Cyropaedia, Xenophon presents an idealized biography of Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Persian Empire. Through the story of Cyrus, Xenophon explores the virtues of a just and effective ruler, emphasizing qualities such as wisdom, courage, self-control, and a deep concern for the well-being of his subjects. Xenophon believed that true leadership stemmed not from birthright or brute force, but from character, competence, and the ability to inspire loyalty and obedience through just and effective governance. His writings, grounded in practical experience and a deep understanding of human nature, offer timeless insights into the challenges of leadership and the enduring qualities that distinguish effective rulers throughout history. As the sun begins to set on the golden age of Athens, we turn our attention to one of the most turbulent and consequential periods in Greek history, the Peloponnesian War. This decades-long conflict between Athens and Sparta, two rival superpowers vying for dominance, would leave an indelible mark on the Greek world, ushering in an era of instability and ultimately paving the way for Macedonian conquest. Chronicling this epic clash of civilizations was Thucydides, an Athenian general and historian whose meticulous account of the war stands as a masterpiece of historical writing and a timeless meditation on the nature of power, the dynamics of conflict, and the enduring themes of human nature. Thucydides approached his task with a historian's objectivity and a general's strategic eye, seeking to understand not only the events themselves but also the underlying causes, the motivations of the key players, and the broader historical forces at play. He believed that by studying the past, we could gain valuable insights into the present and future. For human nature, he argued, remains fundamentally constant across time and cultures. In his seminal work, History of the Peloponnesian War, Thucydides presents a searing account of the conflict, capturing the strategic complexities, the brutality of battle, and the devastating human toll of war. He meticulously documents the political machinations, the shifting alliances, and the escalating cycle of violence that engulfed the Greek world. But Thucydides' work is much more than a mere chronicle of battles and diplomacy. It is a profound reflection on the nature of power, the corrosive influence of fear and ambition, and the tragic consequences of unchecked hubris. He argues that the war was not merely a clash of ideologies or a struggle for resources, but a consequence of human nature itself, driven by fear, honor, and the insatiable pursuit of power. Thucydides' insights into the dynamics of conflict, the dangers of imperial overreach, and the enduring themes of human nature remain as relevant today as they were in ancient Greece. His work stands as a timeless warning against the seductive allure of power, the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition, and the importance of understanding the past if we are to navigate the complexities of the present and future. As the sun sets on the golden age of Athens, we turn our gaze to one of the most brilliant minds in human history, Aristotle. A student of Plato and tutor to Alexander the Great, Aristotle possessed an encyclopedic intellect ranging from logic and metaphysics to ethics, politics, and the natural world. His contributions to philosophy, science, and political thought have shaped Western civilization for over 2 millennia. Born in the bustling city of Stagira, Aristotle arrived in Athens as a young man, eager to delve into the world of ideas at Plato's academy. While he inherited his mentor's passion for knowledge, Aristotle forged his own path, emphasizing observation, empirical evidence, and a deep engagement with the world around him. Central to Aristotle's political philosophy is the concept of the polis, the Greek city-state, which he considered the natural environment for human flourishing. Unlike Plato, who envisioned an ideal society ruled by philosopher kings, Aristotle believed that the best form of government was one that reflected the values and aspirations of its citizens. In his seminal work, Politics, Aristotle examines various forms of government, from monarchy and aristocracy to democracy and oligarchy, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses. He argues that no single form of government is inherently superior. Rather, the best form of government is one that is suited to the particular circumstances of a society. Key to Aristotle's political thought is the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. Aristotle believed that the ultimate goal of human life was to live a virtuous and fulfilling life, one characterized by reason, excellence, and the pursuit of knowledge. He argued that the polis played a crucial role in fostering eudaimonia by providing a framework for justice, education, and civic engagement. Aristotle's emphasis on observation, empirical evidence, and the importance of understanding the particular circumstances of a society continues to resonate with political philosophers and policymakers today. His insights into human nature, the dynamics of power, and the pursuit of the good life offer a timeless framework for contemplating the challenges of governance and the enduring quest for a just and flourishing society. From the bustling streets of Athens, we journey to the ancient city of Chæronea, where Plutarch, a renowned biographer and essayist, penned his celebrated parallel lives. Living in the twilight of the Roman Republic, Plutarch sought to illuminate the past by drawing vivid portraits of the great men of Greece and Rome, revealing their virtues and vices, their triumphs and failures, and the enduring lessons their lives held for his own time and for posterity. Plutarch believed that history was not merely a dry recounting of events, but a rich tapestry woven from the lives of individuals. He understood that behind every great battle, every political intrigue, every cultural achievement lay the hopes, dreams, ambitions, and flaws of real people. By delving into their stories, Plutarch sought to uncover the universal truths of human nature, the timeless qualities that inspire greatness, and the pitfalls that can lead even the most virtuous astray. In his parallel lives, Plutarch pairs a Greek and a Roman figure, often contemporaries who played similar roles on the stage of history, such as Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar, Demosthenes and Cicero, or Solon and Publicola. Through these parallel biographies, Plutarch explores the complexities of leadership, the challenges of power, and the enduring tension between ambition and virtue. Plutarch's approach to biography was not merely to chronicle the outward events of a person's life, but to delve into their character, their motivations, and the inner struggles that shaped their destinies. He believed that by understanding the choices these figures made, both wise and foolish, we could gain valuable insights into our own lives and the challenges we face. More than a mere biographer, Plutarch was a moral philosopher who used the lives of great men as a canvas to explore timeless virtues such as courage, justice, wisdom, temperance, and self-control. He believed that by studying the lives of those who embodied these virtues, we could learn to cultivate them in ourselves and inspire them in others. Plutarch's parallel lives remains a testament to the power of biography to illuminate the human condition, to inspire us to strive for excellence, and to remind us that the lessons of the past hold enduring relevance for our own time. As the Roman Empire teetered on the brink of collapse, a new force was reshaping the intellectual and spiritual landscape of the Western world, Christianity. At the forefront of this transformation stood Augustine of Hippo, a brilliant theologian and philosopher whose writings would profoundly influence Christian thought for centuries to come. Born in what is now Algeria, Augustine's early life was marked by intellectual curiosity and spiritual restlessness. He explored various philosophies and religions before converting to Christianity in his 30s. This profound personal transformation would shape his life's work as he sought to reconcile the wisdom of classical philosophy with the teachings of the Christian faith. In his seminal work, The City of God, written against the backdrop of the sack of Rome by the Visigoths, Augustine grapples with the nature of good and evil, the role of divine providence in history, and the relationship between earthly and heavenly authority. He argues that human history is a struggle between two cities, the city of God, representing those who seek spiritual salvation, and the city of man, representing those who prioritize worldly power and material possessions. Augustine's political philosophy is rooted in his belief in the inherent sinfulness of humanity and the need for divine grace. He argues that earthly governments are necessary to maintain order and restrain evil, but they are ultimately flawed institutions reflecting the fallen nature of humanity. True justice and lasting peace, Augustine believed, could only be found in the city of God, where God's will reigns supreme. While Augustine's emphasis on the primacy of the spiritual realm had a profound impact on Christian thought, his ideas also had far-reaching political implications. His writings would influence the development of the concept of the two swords doctrine, which posited a separation between spiritual and temporal authority, a principle that would shape the relationship between church and state throughout the Middle Ages. Augustine's enduring legacy lies in his ability to synthesize classical philosophy with Christian theology, creating a rich and complex intellectual framework that would influence Western thought for centuries to come. His exploration of the nature of good and evil, the limitations of earthly power, and the search for ultimate meaning continues to resonate with people of all faiths and backgrounds, offering timeless insights into the human condition and the enduring quest for spiritual fulfillment. Section 4. Reason and Revelation, Al-Farabi's bridge between philosophy and faith. As the Roman Empire faded in the West, a new center of intellectual and cultural flourishing emerged in the East, the Islamic Golden Age. From Baghdad to Cordoba, scholars and artists from diverse backgrounds converged, translating ancient texts, conducting scientific experiments, and engaging in lively philosophical debates. Among these luminaries was Al-Farabi, a polymath whose profound insights into philosophy, logic, and political thought earned him the title of the second teacher after Aristotle. Born in present-day Kazakhstan, Al-Farabi embarked on a lifelong pursuit of knowledge, mastering a wide range of disciplines, from music and mathematics to astronomy and medicine. He was particularly drawn to the works of Aristotle, whose writings he translated, commented on, and sought to reconcile with Islamic theology. Central to Al-Farabi's philosophy is the concept of reason as the path to knowledge and enlightenment. He believed that human beings were endowed with the capacity for rational thought, which allowed them to understand the world around them, to distinguish between right and wrong, and to live virtuous lives. However, Al-Farabi also recognized the importance of revelation, particularly as embodied in the teachings of Islam, as a source of guidance and inspiration. In his political philosophy, Al-Farabi drew heavily on Plato's Republic, envisioning an ideal society ruled by a philosopher king who possessed both wisdom and virtue. He believed that the purpose of government was to create a just and harmonious society that fostered the intellectual and spiritual development of its citizens. Al-Farabi emphasized the importance of education, arguing that it was essential for cultivating virtuous citizens and for promoting social and political harmony. Living in a time of great intellectual and cultural exchange, Al-Farabi's work reflects the synthesis of Greek philosophy, Islamic theology, and Persian intellectual traditions. He saw no inherent conflict between reason and revelation, believing that both were paths to a deeper understanding of God and the universe. Al-Farabi's enduring legacy lies in his ability to bridge the gap between faith and reason, demonstrating that philosophical inquiry and religious belief could coexist and even complement each other. His writings would influence generations of scholars, both in the Islamic world and beyond, shaping the course of philosophical and political thought for centuries to come. Section 1. Between Two Worlds: Halavi and the Philosophical Underpinnings of Jewish Identity. As the Islamic Golden Age illuminated the intellectual landscape of the East, a profound thinker emerged within the Jewish community, grappling with the complexities of faith, identity, and the diaspora experience. Yehuda Halevi, a renowned poet, philosopher, and physician, navigated the cultural crossroads of medieval Spain, where Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions intertwined and clashed. His life and work reflect the challenges and triumphs of preserving cultural and religious identity amidst a constantly shifting world. Born in Tudela, Spain, Halevi witnessed firsthand the vibrancy and precariousness of Jewish life under Islamic rule. He excelled in both secular and religious studies, mastering Arabic, Hebrew, and classical literature, while also delving into the intricacies of Jewish law and philosophy. His intellectual prowess earned him recognition as a physician and a leading voice in Jewish intellectual circles. At the heart of Halevi's philosophical exploration lay a deep-seated love for his people and a yearning for Zion, the spiritual homeland of the Jewish people. He witnessed the challenges faced by Jewish communities scattered across the diaspora, grappling with assimilation, persecution, and the constant struggle to preserve their traditions and beliefs. In his philosophical treatise, the Kuzari, Halevi presents a fictionalized dialogue between the king of the Khazars, a Turkic people who had converted to Judaism, and a rabbi who expounds on the tenets of Jewish faith. Through this engaging narrative, Halevi explores the philosophical underpinnings of Judaism, defending its theological principles, historical narratives, and ethical precepts against the critiques of other faiths and philosophies. Halevi's work reflects a profound belief in the chosenness of the Jewish people, not as a claim of superiority, but as a unique covenant with God, a responsibility to uphold a moral and spiritual mission in the world. He saw the history of the Jewish people, including their exile and suffering, as imbued with divine purpose, shaping their collective identity and strengthening their commitment to their faith. Section 2. A guide for the perplexed: Maimonides' enduring legacy of reason and faith. As we delve deeper into the intellectual ferment of the Middle Ages, we encounter another towering figure who straddled the worlds of faith and reason: Moses Maimonides, known to Jewish tradition as Rambam. Born in Cordoba, Spain in 1135, Maimonides lived during a period of great upheaval and change, witnessing the decline of Islamic rule in Spain and the increasing persecution of Jewish communities. Despite these challenges, he emerged as a leading scholar, physician, and philosopher, leaving an indelible mark on Jewish thought and beyond. Maimonides possessed an encyclopedic intellect, excelling in a vast range of disciplines, including mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and Jewish law. He served as the personal physician to Saladin, the renowned Muslim ruler of Egypt, while also devoting himself to writing some of the most influential works of Jewish philosophy and legal scholarship. At the heart of Maimonides' philosophical project lay a deep commitment to reconciling faith and reason. He believed that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was not only a God of revelation but also a God of reason, a God whose creation reflected order, intelligibility, and the possibility of human understanding. In his magnum opus, The Guide for the Perplexed, Maimonides addresses the challenges faced by individuals who seek to reconcile their intellectual pursuits with their religious beliefs. He argues that there is no inherent conflict between the truths revealed through Scripture and the truths discovered through reason and observation, Rather, Maimonides believed that reason properly understood could lead us to a deeper appreciation of the divine. Maimonides' philosophical approach emphasized the importance of interpreting scripture allegorically, seeking the deeper meanings and moral truths beneath the literal text. He believed that God had endowed humans with the capacity for reason, and it was through the exercise of this faculty that we could come to know God more fully. As the intellectual landscape of Europe began to shift in the 13th century, a new wave of philosophical inquiry emerged, seeking to reconcile the rediscovered works of Aristotle with the teachings of the Christian faith. At the forefront of this movement stood Thomas Aquinas, an Italian Dominican friar, theologian and philosopher whose monumental work, Summa Theologica, remains one of the most influential works of Western thought. Born into a noble family in Italy, Aquinas embarked on a path of religious devotion, joining the Dominican order despite opposition from his family. He pursued studies in Naples, Paris and Cologne, immersing himself in the works of Aristotle, whose emphasis on logic, observation and the pursuit of knowledge resonated deeply with Aquinas' own intellectual curiosity. Aquinas believed that faith and reason were not opposing forces but complementary paths to truth. He argued that God had revealed himself through both scripture and creation, and it was through the harmonious interplay of faith and reason that we could arrive at a more complete understanding of the divine. In his Summa Theologica, Aquinas systematically addresses a vast array of theological and philosophical questions, employing a rigorous dialectical method to explore different perspectives and arrive at well-reasoned conclusions. He draws heavily on Aristotle's philosophy, adapting its concepts and principles to a Christian worldview. Central to Aquinas' thought is the concept of natural law, the idea that God has imprinted a moral order on creation, accessible to human reason. He argued that human beings, created in the image of God, possess an innate capacity for reason and a natural inclination towards the good. By studying the natural world and reflecting on our own moral intuitions, Aquinas believed we could discern the principles of natural law and live in accordance with God's will. As the Renaissance dawned in Italy, a new spirit of inquiry and innovation swept across Europe, challenging traditional ways of thinking and paving the way for profound cultural and political transformations. Amidst this era of change and upheaval, Niccolò Machiavelli, a Florentine diplomat, historian, and political philosopher, penned one of the most enduring and controversial works of political thought, The Prince. Born in Florence in 1469, Machiavelli witnessed firsthand the complexities and often brutal realities of Renaissance politics. He served as a diplomat and government official, observing the machinations of power, the shifting alliances, and the precarious nature of rule in a time of constant intrigue and upheaval. Machiavelli's The Prince, written in the aftermath of his exile from political life, is a treatise on the acquisition and maintenance of political power. Unlike earlier works of political philosophy that emphasized ideal forms of government or the moral virtues of rulers, Machiavelli's approach was decidedly pragmatic, focused on the realities of power as they existed in the real world, often a world far removed from the lofty ideals of philosophers and theologians. In The Prince, Machiavelli dispenses with moral platitudes and religious injunctions, arguing that a ruler must be willing to set aside conventional morality if necessary to secure the stability and well-being of the state. He famously asserts that it is better for a ruler to be feared than loved, though he acknowledges that a wise prince should strive to avoid being hated. Machiavelli's focus on the practical necessities of rule, even if they require morally ambiguous actions, has earned him a reputation as a cynic and a proponent of ruthless expediency. However, his work is more nuanced than often portrayed. Machiavelli believed that politics operated according to its own logic, a logic often at odds with traditional morality. He argued that a ruler must be willing to do what is necessary to preserve order, even if those actions might be considered unethical in other contexts. As the Renaissance gave way to the age of reason, a new generation of thinkers emerged, challenging traditional hierarchies, questioning established dogmas and seeking to ground knowledge in observation, logic, and the power of human reason. Among these intellectual revolutionaries was Thomas Hobbes, an English philosopher whose masterpiece, Leviathan, remains a cornerstone of Western political thought, a profound meditation on the nature of power, the origins of government, and the delicate balance between individual liberty and social order. Born in England in 1588, Hobbes lived through a time of great social and political upheaval, witnessing firsthand the horrors of the English Civil War, a conflict that shook the foundations of society and forced him to confront the fragility of peace and the ever-present potential for chaos and violence. These experiences would profoundly shape his philosophical outlook, leading him to develop a view of human nature rooted in a deep-seated fear of anarchy and a profound appreciation for the stabilizing force of strong governance. At the heart of Hobbes's political philosophy lies the concept of the social contract, an implicit agreement among individuals to surrender certain natural rights in exchange for the protection and security provided by a sovereign power. Hobbes believed that in the absence of government, human life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, a state of nature where individuals, driven by their passions and the pursuit of self-preservation, would live in perpetual fear and conflict. To escape this perilous state of nature, Hobbes argued, individuals must rationally consent to a social contract, relinquishing their unlimited freedom to a sovereign power capable of enforcing laws, maintaining order, and protecting its citizens from both internal strife and external threats. This sovereign, whether a monarch or an assembly, would possess absolute authority, its power derived not from divine right but from the consent of the governed. Hobbes's Leviathan, a metaphorical representation of the sovereign, stands as a testament to his belief in the necessity of strong, centralized authority to prevent society from descending into chaos. While his emphasis on the absolute power of the sovereign has drawn criticism from proponents of limited government and individual rights, Hobbes's work remains a powerful reminder of the fragility of social order and the enduring need for effective governance to ensure peace and security. Section 2. A Radical Mind. Spinoza's Enduring Legacy. As the Enlightenment spread across Europe, challenging traditional hierarchies and igniting a passion for reason, liberty, and the pursuit of knowledge, a solitary figure in the Netherlands emerged as one of the most radical and insightful thinkers of his time, Baruch Spinoza. Born in Amsterdam in 1632 to a Jewish family of Portuguese descent, Spinoza's life and work were marked by intellectual independence, a relentless pursuit of truth, and a deep commitment to freedom of thought and expression, principles that often put him at odds with the religious and political authorities of his day. Spinoza's philosophical journey began within the Jewish community, where he received a traditional education in Hebrew scripture, Talmudic law, and medieval Jewish philosophy. However, his inquisitive mind and critical thinking soon led him beyond the confines of dogma and into the realm of independent inquiry, where he encountered the works of René Descartes, Thomas Hobbes, and other Enlightenment thinkers who emphasize reason, observation, and the power of human understanding. Spinoza's philosophical system, as articulated in his masterpiece Ethics, is a testament to his commitment to reason and his belief in the unity of nature. He rejected Cartesian dualism, which posited a separation between mind and body, arguing instead that they were two aspects of the same substance, which he identified with God or nature. This pantheistic worldview, radical for its time, challenged traditional religious conceptions of a transcendent deity and emphasized the interconnectedness of all things. In the realm of political philosophy, Spinoza argued for a secular state that respected freedom of thought and expression, principles he believed were essential for both individual flourishing and the advancement of knowledge. He criticized religious intolerance and theocratic rule, advocating instead for a government that guaranteed the rights of its citizens to believe or not believe as their consciences dictated. Spinoza's radical ideas and unwavering commitment to freedom of expression earned him the scorn of both religious and political authorities. His works were banned, and he was excommunicated from the Jewish community. Despite these challenges, Spinoza remained true to his principles, living a life of intellectual independence and inspiring generations of thinkers with his courageous defense of reason, liberty, and the pursuit of truth. Section 3. 2. Treatises, Locke's enduring influence. As the Enlightenment reached its zenith, a brilliant and influential thinker emerged from England, one whose ideas would profoundly shape the course of Western political thought and inspire revolutions on both sides of the Atlantic: John Locke. Born in 1632, Locke lived through a tumultuous period in English history, witnessing the English Civil War, the restoration of the monarchy, and the Glorious Revolution of 1688, events that profoundly shaped his views on government, individual rights, and the delicate balance between liberty and order. Locke's political philosophy, as articulated in his seminal work, Two Treatises of Government, stands as a cornerstone of classical liberalism. He rejected the divine right of kings, arguing instead that government derives its legitimacy from the consent of the governed. Locke believed that human beings possess inherent natural rights to life, liberty, and property, rights that pre-exist government and cannot be infringed upon by the state. Central to Locke's political thought is the concept of the social contract, an implicit agreement among individuals to form a government to protect their natural rights. However, unlike Hobbes, Locke believed that government's power should be limited and that citizens have a right to resist tyranny. He argued that if a government fails to uphold its end of the social contract, violating the rights of its citizens, the people have a right to alter or abolish it. Locke's ideas about natural rights, limited government, and the right of revolution would prove to be immensely influential. His writings helped to inspire the American Revolution, with Thomas Jefferson drawing heavily on Locke's ideas in drafting the Declaration of Independence. Locke's emphasis on individual liberty, religious toleration, and the separation of powers would also influence the framers of the United States Constitution, shaping the foundations of American democracy. Section 4. The Empiricist's Lens: Hume's Impact on Political Thought. As the Enlightenment progressed, a Scottish philosopher and historian emerged, challenging established dogmas and injecting a healthy dose of skepticism into the realm of political thought. David Hume, born in Edinburgh in 1711, Hume was a leading figure of the Scottish Enlightenment, a period of remarkable intellectual ferment that produced groundbreaking advances in philosophy, science, and economics. Hume was a staunch empiricist, believing that knowledge derives primarily from sensory experience and observation, rather than from innate ideas or abstract reasoning. He argued that our beliefs about the world should be based on evidence, and that we should be skeptical of claims that lack empirical support. This skeptical approach extended to Hume's views on politics and morality. In his political writings, Hume challenged the notion of a social contract, arguing that there was no historical evidence to support the idea that governments were founded on such an agreement. He believed that governments arose gradually over time, often through conquest or the assertion of power by strong individuals or groups. Hume argued that political legitimacy ultimately rested on utility and the ability of a government to provide peace, order, and security for its citizens. He believed that the best form of government was one that balanced the competing interests of different groups within society, preventing any one faction from gaining absolute power. Hume's skepticism about abstract principles and his emphasis on the importance of empirical evidence and historical context had a profound impact on the development of political thought. His writings encouraged a more pragmatic and less idealistic approach to politics, one that recognized the complexities of human nature and the limits of reason in solving social and political problems. As the Enlightenment reached its peak, a Scottish philosopher and economist emerged, challenging conventional wisdom and laying the intellectual foundation for a new era of economic thought: Adam Smith. Born in Kirkcaldy, Scotland in 1723, Smith witnessed firsthand the transformative power of commerce and industry, forces that were reshaping the world around him. His keen observations and insightful analysis of these economic changes led him to develop a comprehensive theory of capitalism, one that emphasized the power of individual self-interest, the efficiency of free markets, and the role of government in fostering economic growth. Smith's masterpiece, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, is widely regarded as the foundational text of modern economics. In this groundbreaking work, Smith challenged the prevailing mercantilist system, which emphasized the accumulation of gold and silver as the primary measure of national wealth. Smith argued that true wealth lay not in hoarding precious metals, but in the productive capacity of a nation's people and their ability to create goods and services that satisfied human needs and desires. Central to Smith's economic theory is the concept of the invisible hand, a metaphor for the self-regulating nature of free markets. Smith argued that when individuals are free to pursue their own economic self-interest, guided by the incentives of profit and loss, they are led as if by an invisible hand to produce goods and services that benefit society as a whole. In a free market, Smith believed, competition among producers would drive down prices, improve quality, and spur innovation, ultimately benefiting consumers and driving economic growth. Smith recognized that government had a role to play in a market economy, but he believed that its role should be limited to providing essential public goods, such as national defense, infrastructure, and a system of justice that enforced contracts and protected property rights. He argued that excessive government intervention in the economy, such as tariffs, subsidies, and regulations, stifled competition, distorted markets, and ultimately hindered economic growth. As the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason, progress, and individual rights swept across Europe, a countervailing intellectual current emerged, one that emphasized the importance of tradition, order, and the accumulated wisdom of the past. At the forefront of this conservative tradition stood Edmund Burke, an Irish statesman, orator, and political theorist whose writings would profoundly shape conservative thought for generations to come. Born in Dublin in 1729, Burke's intellectual journey was shaped by a deep engagement with history, philosophy, and the political and social upheavals of his time. He served as a member of the British Parliament, where he gained renown for his eloquence, his principled stands, and his insightful critiques of government policies, particularly those he believed threatened the delicate balance of power and the established order. Burke's political philosophy was profoundly influenced by the events of the French Revolution, which he viewed with a mixture of horror and foreboding. Unlike many of his contemporaries who celebrated the revolution as a triumph of liberty and reason, Burke saw it as a descent into chaos and tyranny, a dangerous experiment in social engineering that threatened to unravel the fabric of civilization. In his seminal work, Reflections on the Revolution in France, Burke articulated a conservative critique of the revolution's abstract ideals, its radical break with tradition, and its utopian vision of a society remade according to reason. He argued that societies are complex organisms that evolve over time, shaped by tradition, custom, and the accumulated wisdom of generations. Attempts to remake society according to abstract principles, Burke believed, ignored the lessons of history, the importance of experience, and the inherent limitations of human reason. Central to Burke's conservatism was a deep skepticism of radical change, a belief that gradual reform, grounded in tradition and respect for the past, was preferable to revolutionary upheaval. He argued that institutions and customs that had stood the test of time embodied a kind of collective wisdom, a repository of experience that should not be lightly discarded. As the Enlightenment reached its zenith, a German philosopher emerged, challenging the very foundations of knowledge and reason. Immanuel Kant, born in Königsberg, Prussia, in 1724, Kant's intellectual journey was marked by a relentless pursuit of truth, a deep engagement with the scientific revolution, and a profound skepticism of both dogmatism and skepticism. Kant's philosophical project was driven by a desire to reconcile the seemingly conflicting claims of rationalism, which emphasized the power of reason to grasp truths about the world, and empiricism, which stressed the importance of sensory experience as the foundation of knowledge. In his monumental work, Critique of Pure Reason, Kant argued that while our knowledge of the world is indeed shaped by our sensory experiences, the mind is not merely a passive recipient of information, but an active participant in the process of knowing. Kant proposed that the mind possesses innate categories of understanding such as space, time, and causality, which structure our perceptions of the world. These categories, he argued, are not derived from experience, but are preconditions for the possibility of experience itself. In other words, our minds impose order on the chaos of sensory data, shaping it into a coherent and intelligible world. While Kant's critique of pure reason focused primarily on epistemology, the theory of knowledge, his insights had profound implications for political philosophy as well. Kant's emphasis on the limits of human reason, the importance of individual autonomy, and the categorical imperative, the moral principle that we should act only according to rules that we could universalize, would profoundly influence the development of liberal political thought. Kant believed that human beings, as rational agents, possess inherent dignity and autonomy. He argued that individuals should be treated not merely as means to an end, but as ends in themselves, deserving of respect and the freedom to make their own choices. This emphasis on individual autonomy and the categorical imperative would form the ethical foundation for Kant's political philosophy, which emphasized the importance of individual rights, limited government, and the rule of law. As the Enlightenment gave way to the Romantic era, a new generation of thinkers emerged, challenging the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason, individualism, and universal truths. Among these figures was Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, a German philosopher whose complex and influential system of thought would leave an indelible mark on Western intellectual history, inspiring both passionate followers and fierce critics. Born in Stuttgart, Germany in 1770, Hegel's intellectual journey was shaped by the tumultuous events of his time, including the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon, and the subsequent restoration of the old order. These upheavals led him to develop a dynamic and historical view of human progress, one that emphasized the role of conflict, contradiction, and reconciliation in driving the evolution of consciousness and the development of human institutions. Central to Hegel's philosophy is the concept of the dialectic, a process of thought and historical development that proceeds through a series of stages, each characterized by a particular thesis, its antithesis, and their eventual synthesis. According to Hegel, history is not a linear progression, but a spiral, a dynamic process in which ideas clash, contradictions emerge, and new syntheses are forged, only to be challenged in turn by new antitheses. Hegel saw history as the unfolding of what he called the Geist, often translated as spirit or mind, a kind of collective consciousness that evolves over time, moving towards ever greater self-awareness and freedom. He believed that each historical epoch represented a particular stage in the development of the Geist, with its own unique set of ideas, institutions, and values. Hegel's emphasis on the historical and cultural context of ideas, his notion of progress through conflict and reconciliation, and his concept of the Geist as a driving force in history would have a profound impact on subsequent thinkers, particularly Karl Marx, who adapted Hegel's dialectical method to develop his theory of historical materialism. Hegel's ideas would also influence a wide range of other fields, including philosophy, history, literature, and political theory, shaping debates about the nature of progress, the role of conflict in society, and the relationship between the individual and the collective. As the Industrial Revolution transformed Europe, reshaping the social landscape and giving rise to new forms of wealth and poverty, a German philosopher and economist emerged, challenging the very foundations of the capitalist system, Karl Marx. Born in Trier, Prussia in 1818, Marx's intellectual journey was shaped by a deep engagement with philosophy, history, and economics, disciplines he believed were essential for understanding the complexities of human society and the forces driving social change. Marx's intellectual development was profoundly influenced by the writings of G.W.F. Hegel, particularly Hegel's dialectical method, which Marx adapted and transformed into a materialist theory of history. While Hegel saw history as the unfolding of the Geist, a kind of collective consciousness, Marx argued that the driving force of history was not ideas but material conditions, particularly the mode of production, the way in which a society organizes its economic activity. Marx believed that throughout history, societies had been divided into classes based on their relationship to the means of production. In capitalist society, he argued, the fundamental class division was between the bourgeoisie, the owners of capital factories, machines, raw materials, and the proletariat, the working class who owned only their labor power, which they sold to the bourgeoisie in exchange for wages. Central to Marx's critique of capitalism was his theory of exploitation. He argued that the capitalist system was inherently exploitative because the bourgeoisie, who controlled the means of production, extracted surplus value from the labor of the proletariat. In other words, workers produced more value than they received in wages, with the surplus value being appropriated by the capitalists as profit. Marx believed that capitalism was driven by an insatiable desire for profit, which led to a constant expansion of production, a relentless search for new markets, and a tendency towards economic crises. He argued that these crises were inherent to the system and would ultimately lead to its downfall as the proletariat, driven to desperation by exploitation and alienation, would rise up in revolution to overthrow the capitalist system and establish a new classless society. As the 19th century progressed, a German philosopher and cultural critic emerged, challenging the very foundations of morality, religion, and traditional values, Friedrich Nietzsche. Born in Rocken, Prussia in 1844, Nietzsche's intellectual journey was marked by a brilliant but troubled mind, a deep skepticism of conventional wisdom, and a passionate search for meaning in a world he believed had lost its way. Nietzsche's philosophy is characterized by a radical individualism, a rejection of absolute truths, and a belief in the power of the human will to create meaning in a world devoid of inherent purpose. He famously declared that God is dead, by which he meant that the traditional foundations of morality and meaning, religion, metaphysics, and Enlightenment rationalism had lost their hold on the modern mind. Central to Nietzsche's thought is the concept of the will to power, which he saw as the fundamental driving force of all life, including human life. The will to power for Nietzsche was not simply a desire for domination or control over others, but a more fundamental drive for self-realization, for the full expression of one's creative potential. Nietzsche was deeply critical of what he saw as the slave morality of Christianity and its emphasis on humility, compassion, and self-sacrifice. He argued that this morality, born out of resentment for the strong and powerful, had poisoned Western civilization, stifling the human will and inhibiting the development of truly great individuals. In its place, Nietzsche called for a revaluation of all values, a radical reassessment of traditional morality, and a return to the values of ancient Greece, which he believed celebrated strength, excellence, and the pursuit of greatness. He envisioned a new kind of human being, the Übermensch, often translated as Superman or Overman, who would rise above the constraints of conventional morality and create new values based on the affirmation of life, the will to power, and the pursuit of self-realization. Section 3. Being and Time, Martin Heidegger and the Question of Being. As the 20th century dawned, a German philosopher emerged, grappling with the fundamental question of existence itself. Martin Heidegger. Born in Meßkirch, Germany in 1889, Heidegger's intellectual journey was marked by a profound engagement with the history of philosophy, a deep concern for the meaning of being, and a complex and often controversial relationship with the political currents of his time. Heidegger's magnum opus, Being and Time, published in 1927, is a dense and challenging work that seeks to revive the question of being, a question that Heidegger believed had been forgotten or obscured by centuries of metaphysical speculation. For Heidegger, the question of being was not simply a matter of defining what exists, but rather of understanding the meaning of existence itself, the ground or condition that makes it possible for anything to be at all. Central to Heidegger's thought is the concept of Dasein, a term he used to refer to the unique mode of being of human beings. Unlike other entities in the world, which simply are, Dasein is characterized by its existence, its being in the world. Dasein is always engaged with the world, always interpreting and making sense of its surroundings, always projecting itself into the future. Heidegger argued that Dasein is fundamentally temporal. It's being structured by its relationship to past, present and future. He believed that our understanding of being is shaped by our finitude, our awareness of our own mortality, and our being towards death. This awareness of our own finitude, Heidegger argued, gives rise to anxiety, a fundamental mood that reveals the groundlessness of our existence and the possibility of authentic self-understanding. Heidegger's thought is notoriously difficult and open to multiple interpretations. His emphasis on being, his critique of traditional metaphysics, and his focus on the existential dimensions of human existence have had a profound impact on 20th and 21st century thought, influencing fields such as philosophy, theology, literature, and art. The philosophical echoes of Marx, Nietzsche, and Heidegger reverberate through the corridors of 21st century thought, their ideas continuing to challenge and provoke, offering both insights and warnings for a world grappling with unprecedented challenges. Marx's critique of capitalism, with its focus on economic inequality, exploitation, and the alienating effects of modern work, resonates with renewed urgency in an era marked by widening wealth gaps, precarious labor conditions, and the global reach of multinational corporations. Nietzsche's call for a revaluation of all values, his critique of nihilism, and his emphasis on the importance of meaning and purpose in a world seemingly stripped of traditional sources of authority, speak to a contemporary search for meaning in a world often characterized by fragmentation, uncertainty, and a sense of moral drift. Heidegger's exploration of the question of being, his focus on the existential dimensions of human existence, and his concern for the technological enframing of the world resonate with contemporary anxieties about the pace of technological change, the potential for ecological catastrophe, and the challenges of living authentically in a hyper-connected yet often alienating world. The ideas of these philosophical giants, while often complex and challenging, offer valuable resources for understanding the complexities of the 21st century. Their critiques of modernity, their explorations of the human condition, and their unwavering commitment to questioning received wisdom provide a rich tapestry of insights that can help us navigate the challenges and possibilities of our time. By engaging with their ideas, we inherit a legacy of critical thought, a responsibility to confront the pressing issues of our day, and a call to imagine and strive for a more just, meaningful, and sustainable future. The echoes of their thought, while rooted in the past, point towards a future yet to be written, a future where the insights of philosophy can illuminate our path and inspire us to create a world worthy of our shared humanity. As our journey through the history of political thought comes to a close, we find ourselves standing at a crossroads. The voices of philosophers, echoing through time, offer a chorus of wisdom, a symphony of ideas that can illuminate our path as we navigate the complexities of the 21st century. Their insights into human nature, the dynamics of power, and the pursuit of a just and flourishing society remain as relevant today as they were in the ancient academies, bustling marketplaces, and revolutionary salons where they were first conceived. From the ancient Greeks, we inherit a legacy of reason, a belief in the power of human inquiry to understand the world around us and to shape our own destinies. Socrates' relentless questioning, Plato's pursuit of ideal forms, Aristotle's emphasis on observation and empirical evidence. These are the intellectual tools that have empowered generations to challenge dogma, to seek truth, and to strive for a better future. The Renaissance and the Enlightenment bequeathed to us a belief in the power of human agency, the idea that we are not simply passive subjects of fate or divine decree, but active participants in shaping our own lives and the world around us. Machiavelli's pragmatism, Locke's emphasis on natural rights, and Kant's categorical imperative These ideas have fueled revolutions, toppled tyrants, and inspired movements for social and political reform. The 19th and 20th centuries brought forth a wave of critiques of modernity, challenging us to confront the unintended consequences of progress, the persistence of inequality, and the ever-present potential for power to corrupt even the most noble ideals. Marx's analysis of capitalism, Nietzsche's revaluation of all values, and Heidegger's questioning of technology, these are the intellectual challenges that compel us to look beyond the surface of our achievements and to confront the shadow side of progress. The wisdom of the philosophers is not merely an academic exercise, a collection of dusty tomes to be admired from afar. It is a call to action, an invitation to engage with the enduring questions of our time, to embrace critical thinking, and to demand ethical leadership in a world often characterized by complexity, uncertainty, and a sense of moral drift. In an era of information overload, where truth is often drowned out by a cacophony of competing narratives, the ability to think critically, to evaluate evidence, and to discern fact from fiction is more important than ever. The philosophical tradition, with its emphasis on logic, reason, and the rigorous examination of ideas, provides us with the intellectual tools we need to navigate this complex information landscape. Furthermore, as we confront global challenges that transcend borders, climate change, economic inequality, technological disruption, and the erosion of democratic norms, we're reminded of the interconnectedness of our world and the need for ethical leadership that prioritizes the common good over narrow self-interest. The philosopher's emphasis on justice, compassion, and the pursuit of a more equitable society provides a moral compass for navigating these turbulent waters. It is not enough to simply admire the wisdom of the past. We must embody it in our own lives, in our communities, and in the halls of power. We must demand leaders who are not only competent but also ethical, who possess not only technical skills but also moral courage, who are guided not by expediency but by a deep commitment to the principles of justice, fairness, and human dignity. The journey of philosophical exploration is not a solitary pursuit, but a collective endeavor, one that requires us to engage with diverse perspectives, to challenge our own assumptions, and to remain open to the possibility that our understanding of the world can always be deepened and enriched. It is in the spirit of dialogue, debate, and a shared commitment to truth-seeking that we can hope to forge a future worthy of the philosophical giants who came before us. The challenges we face in the 21st century are immense, but they are not insurmountable. We have inherited a rich legacy of philosophical thought, a treasure trove of insights, warnings, and aspirations that can guide us as we navigate the complexities of our time. By embracing the spirit of critical inquiry, by demanding ethical leadership, and by working together to create a more just, equitable, and enlightened world, we can honor the legacy of the philosophers and shape a future where the light of reason, compassion, and human ingenuity illuminates our path. The journey ahead will be challenging, but it is a journey we must undertake together, for the sake of our children, our planet, and the future of humanity itself. Now is the time to reflect on these philosophical insights and take action. Together we can build a world that truly embodies justice, equity, and enlightenment. The future is in our hands. Share and subscribe for more philosophical insights.